Hello and welcome back everybody to the Foodbuild factory, where today we're going to take a look at Tomahawk, just quickly facing the sun so we can see him a little better. That's the guy you can see on screen right now, and as always I'm going to show you some gameplay in the first part of the video, and in the second part of the video we're going to take a look at the perks, mutations, equipment and everything else. And today's build is an interesting one. What I wanted to take a look at here is, I mean, you see that we're wielding a hatchet, but this is not what we're going to do here. We are going to use tomahawks mainly. Now, this build, the way I imagined it, if I were to use it on a day-to-day basis, which I actually think wouldn't be too bad of a decision, I would probably not rely on tomahawks as much as I will do in this video here. I want to use mainly the tomahawks in this video just to show off how, I mean, I want to say how good they can be, but that would implement that they are good. How, yeah, viable a throwable build can be. And this is one of those builds which started out as pretty much just a little bit of a experiment. When the game first came out, I really wanted to. I was really surprised to see throwables coming back, throwing knives. Tomahawks weren't a thing at that time, but I was really stoked. Throwing knives, craftable throwing knives, especially, were a cool idea in my opinion, and was looking forward to making kind of a ninja build or something where I was using them. But I was quickly relatively disappointed by the fact that you simply cannot do a whole lot to boost them. There are no perks for throwable melee weapons that boost them, which is a shame in my opinion. That could really make them relatively good. But nowadays I wanted to revisit it, and there are a few little things here and there that are interesting to mention when it comes to these kind of weapons. And the most powerful thing about them, and most interesting thing in my opinion, is the fact that they do trigger the follow through perk. A legendary perk that makes it so after you have land a ranged sneak attack on an enemy, you will deal 40% multiplicative damage with the next shot. And it's one of the most powerful perks in the game at the moment. Obviously, if you are running a stealth build, that is. And it's especially a great thing because, yeah, melee weapons are locked out of using that perk. Now, I have in the past used tricks, for example, like when I was using a stealth melee build, I was having a ranged weapon. In the video I made, I think I was using a syringer in order to start off attacking an enemy and then use the follow through bonus for the 10 next seconds in order to wreak havoc on an enemy with my melee weapon. But you obviously have to switch between your weapons, which is a bit bothersome, and especially if you're fighting stuff like ghouls or so, that can become a little bit tedious. So while it worked fine, it was okay. On this occasion though, yeah, Throwables doing the same trick is very nice, because you don't have to switch back from your melee weapon. And especially if you're fighting tougher enemies, the 40% multiplicative damage can really help a stealth melee build out quite far here. And yeah, while I was testing that video, I was actually surprised to see how good these actually became. Talking about, yeah, one-shotting certain ghouls here. On this occasion we were quite lucky because we were somehow hitting the fusion core of the sentry bot, by the way. So don't expect to just drop every sentry bot in 3 hits from a tomahawk, just to make sure here. But yeah, I had a ton of fun with these throwable weapons, and another thing they do actually benefit from is the legendary effect from your melee weapon. Or not melee weapon, but the weapon you're wielding. So that's definitely something to take into consideration. It's probably one of the big. I think it is the biggest damage boost you can get straight up for your throwable weapons. So think about junkies, for example. Junkies is good, just gives you straight up 50% more damage to the weapon. And another big thing is, well, that doesn't seem too much. I mean, considering how much you have to invest into other weapons. Um, if you're talking about your melee weapons or so, your legendary effect, well, it can be quite powerful. Always just adds so much to your weapon. It's just a fraction of all your boosts. But that's because it boosts your base damage, and since throwable weapons aren't modifiable, and there isn't really a lot that boosts their damage. Talking about the Tomahawks, they have 100 base damage, and that's what's getting boosted. So, yeah, you can actually get quite a significant increase in your damage from just those little perks. Now, I'm using a anti-armor hatchet, so we have the anti-armor effect for our Tomahawks, but yeah, instigating works relatively well in my opinion. Thing is, I wanted to make this build a bit more versatile, and instigating kind of loses its point once we're fighting against tougher targets that we can take down with a single hit. Executioners was absolutely fun, and ultimately with this build I would consider just collecting different hatchets or melee weapons in general that fit this kind of tribal aesthetic, to then just switch between them depending on the situation. They will weigh pretty much nothing, just because we do have the martial artist perk, making our melee weapons already 60% lighter. But one main feature about this build is we are using a full set of weapon weight reduction armor. That's because, yeah, if you wanna really use a lot of hatchets, what you wanna do is you need to reduce their weight as much as you can. These things can be quite heavy, so carrying around 100 of them without proper preparation, that will be a pain. And talking about pain, I hope you guys kind of forgive me, but I'm probably not going to fight the Scorch Beast here, just because, yeah, it will be a pain to get it to land. And on this occasion, I wouldn't really use the hatchets. That's just kind of the upper roof where I say I would use the hatchet in stealth to initiate my follow-through bonus, but then just hack away on it with my hatchet. Now, if it decides to land somewhere near here, I will probably take it, but doesn't look like it. Anyways, back to the topic. Yeah, I initially thought maybe ammo weight reduction or appropriate perks could possibly reduce the weight of our Tomahawks. Wasn't really the case. Yeah, ultimately what I found out is the only way to reduce their weight is weapon weight reduction, and sadly not even the martial artist perk works, so you have to rely on the legendary effect on your armor. If you do that though and manage to assemble a full set, they weigh nearly nothing though, so we are down when it comes to weight to think it is 0.07 pounds of weight per hatchet. So yeah, it's comparable to certain ammo types if you're having bandolier equipped or so. So it really becomes kind of a not so much a problem. Now another big thing is that it might seem like hatchets, Tomahawks are quite expensive. Pretty sure, if I remember correctly, they're costing 5 steel and 5 wood to craft. But steel and wood are quite numerous to find, easy to farm, and this build here does have the appropriate perks. It's just, we're talking about 2 perk points that make it so we can really improve the way the amount of steel and wood we gather. Wood just by gathering it, and we do have the scrapper perk, which is yet again only 1 point of perk investment. And since we do have a full set of weight reduction armor, we can easily just loot every single weapon that we find on enemies and just carry it to the next location with a workbench to then scrap it down. So steel, yeah, you can farm a ton of steel with this build. And yeah, to be honest, I'm just kind of surprised how much fun it was to just use this build. I will probably, when we're fighting super mutants, or if I find some of the tougher enemies, I will show off how effective this combination can be by initiating combat with a throwable weapon and then follow up with a few stealth attacks from a melee weapon. And keep in mind, we do use a hatchet, which is one of the weaker melee weapons. So obviously, you can definitely improve this build by quite a lot if you're just using a better weapon or so. But I wanted to use the hatchet just because it looks like you're running around with your Tomahawk. Now, it's not exactly the same, but it just felt fitting, and yeah, it's a bit stupid how your character just conjures up some hatchets out of nowhere and throws them, but it feels more appropriate if you're already wielding some kind of axe. Not exactly sure what is the difference between axes and hatchets in the English terminology, so forgive me about that. But I think you're getting the point here. Just felt rather appropriate, and yeah, I think I say this the third time now, but I actually enjoyed this build quite a lot. It was a lot of fun. It definitely takes some practice, but yeah, I'm definitely not typically good when it comes to aiming stuff, and therefore, yeah. Um, Keep in mind you can probably do even better, but what I found is that the hitbox for the hatchets is pretty big, which in a lot of situations is a big plus, big bonus, but it can also screw you up a little. So if you're trying to snipe enemies from further away, I mean, while it's possible, you do have quite some range. The problem is, yeah, the hatchets easily get stuck within a railing, for example, or if you're throwing them through windows or so. Yeah, it's kind of hard. So I definitely would try to keep it at mid-range so you can stay hidden rather easily. But on this occasion, we will see how a sniper shot will do. The first one, basically, you can use to align, but yeah, you see, now that the target is moving, it's getting a bit harder. Not sure if on video you could see it, but this one got stuck in the water tower. I guess it is a water tower. But anyways, let me just scout out with VATS where the other enemies are, and yeah, okay. This was surprisingly a hit. I didn't really expect that to hit, and yeah, I think these guys are down. Now another big thing is you can obviously loot Tomahawks relatively often. If you're missing them, you can pretty much always loot them. You just have to find, yet again, the hitbox. If you're hitting an enemy, sometimes they get lost. I always thought this was kind of a bit of a unnecessary decision. It wouldn't be overpowered to receive all of them. You would still end up losing some of them every now and then, and it would mean you don't have to carry around like 500 or so, like I do at the moment. But it is how it is. And okay, yet again, we got stuck here. By the way, I just want to clear most of the enemies before I show you the combination of follow through and the melee weapon, just because, yeah, once I initiate melee, my stealth will be broken relatively soon. Here you can see it. I'm not having the best kind of armor on me for stealth. I mean, I do have a full set of covered scout armor, but yeah, since I was prioritizing weapon weight reduction, that was really just the main thing for this build here that was necessary. Okay, let's just see if we can get back into hidden. Yeah, that's really the problem here. If we would have a set of chameleon armor, this would go way better. But another thing is, yeah, you notice that if I would have just stuck with using my throwables, I would have actually done better, which is surprising. But yeah, I really didn't really practice stealth meleeing on this character, just because I was focused so much on the tomahawks. And yeah, I really like the whole aesthetic. I do have that metal mohawk, I think it's called mohawk, hairstyle that was recently in the atomic shop, one of the cooler ones. Finally, they're adding new hairstyles, even though there's not a single hair involved. And yeah, okay, we have one left here, and with a power attack, we can take him down. Now, in terms of stealth attacks, they can be boosted in terms of your damage when it comes to the throwable weapons, but they're not under ninja, so they do benefit from covered operations. So yeah, if you're wanting to do this combination, you do have to invest 6 points into boosting your stealth attacks. That's something noteworthy, I guess. I mean, it's kind of it's not unintuitive. They are obviously not melee attacks, but ranged attacks. So I think covered operative is the right decision to go here. But I wouldn't have put it past Bethesda to make Tomahawks benefit from the ninja perk. So yeah. On this occasion here, you saw we did 1,000 damage. That was the combination of a headshot. It's not clear just by following the Tomahawk with your eyes if it is a headshot or not. It's just a luck-based thing. You can go for headshots, but it's definitely not something you can safely assure to do. And yeah, the other thing that was going on there was we're already being affected by how's it called? Follow through. So as you can see, under the right circumstances, you can actually do a ton of damage with this, with these hatchets here. Sorry, not hatchets, tomahawks. And here you see the problem I was mentioning earlier. I will show it to you in a second. The hitboxes of the tomahawks, they get stuck here in the air, and probably because of this shield here. Okay, there's a guy. Let's take him down. One interesting thing to note is what I found out and was quite surprised by. Yeah, the damage of throwable melee weapons is not affected by. Okay, we are detected here. We taken it a bit far, to be honest. I was just strolling in here with no concern whatsoever. Yeah, the weapon's damage is not affected by your strength, so we do have relatively high strength here, just because yeah we wanted to have a little bit going on for our melee build. Which is basically the core of this build. But if you're just wanting to use the throwable weapons, that's not necessary whatsoever. And here, despite being in danger, since our sneak attack from the headshot went through while we were still in stealth, we were still getting the benefit from follow through on this Blood Eagle, how was it called? Flayer. That's why we were still doing a lot of damage. So being detected doesn't always have to mean your capabilities in a fight are over. We're not really tanky, but that's something you could definitely build into your build as well. This is more like this was just an experiment, right? Now here we will really see this Deathclaw is very perceptive. Yeah. Um, I mean, Deathclaws in general are quite perceptive, but I always feel like this one here is a special case. Like there's some kind of coding going on that if you're running down this canyon, it will detect you. Definitely not the first time Bethesda did something like this. If you remember the blind Deathclaw in the canyon in Fallout New Vegas, you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, even with very dedicated stealth characters that usually have no problem staying hidden all of the time, this is a point where sometimes I get detected. And I don't really say it has to do with the surroundings itself. It has to do with the enemy there. And let's see. Okay, let's start off with this guy here. You wanna press through here quite quickly through your gameplay, just because yeah, adrenaline is quite an important part of this build here. Now I pretty much always use adrenaline just because it is a good perk, and there's not a single build where adrenaline couldn't be useful probably, but especially on this one here, since there is just so little you can do in order to improve your damage, adrenaline being one of them, you really want to keep up your adrenaline. That's all I'm saying. So overall, I mean, I might forget something. I will go over the perks again. But if I have to say all of the perks that affect our damage here in terms of our throwables, Bloody Mess, which usually isn't the biggest damage boost, but it's okay on this weapons here just because it still does what it says. It straight up boosts your damage by 15%. in all reality, it's 14 damage points or so, I think, but yeah, it's considerable. Then another thing we do have is obviously the legendary effect of your weapon. By the way, I do have another hatchet here with 25 damage while standing still. So the 25% while standing still, I think, affect the Tomahawk as well. But yeah. On this occasion, by the way, you saw we were doing a headshot against the Suicider. But here you saw, I think this should have been a headshot, but wasn't. Same as this one. So yeah, don't rely on headshots. I mean, you can try it, maybe you're good enough to really pull it off over time, but for me it definitely wasn't something I took into consideration too heavily. And now we're missing quite a few shots here, which is a shame, but can't help it. I think I have to retreat a little, despite being in caution. Yeah, we're a relatively flimsy character, and just the stray bullets that were hitting me all the time, yeah, they really started to stack up here. Okay, we are now moving, so we shouldn't get any considerable benefit from the standing still effect, but yeah, standing still again, and I was kind of surprised that this was even a hit and wasn't hitting the hitbox of the cooking station here, but yeah, anyways. Even if you're not trying to use your melee weapon at all and just carry it in order to boost your damage from the legendary effect, I would still consider finding a version with faster swing speed. And there's one simple reason for it. If you're starting to charge your fire button in order to throw the weapon too soon, you will do an attack. I mean, you saw it during the video that every now and then I did an attack at a point where it was completely unnecessary, and that's why. And while this isn't prevented by the fact that you have a swing speed weapon, it just means your swing is over faster and you can then get back into really using your tomahawks. So, might seem obvious, but it's just something I found out while playing and wouldn't have considered otherwise, most likely. And yeah, I'm now going to take a look down here, just because oftentimes when I think I'm done, here is the point where more super mutants start to conjure up. But yeah, if I look for them, they're not here. They're just usually spawning once I stand back there and try to talk about the build. Okay, let's see. Some quick wet scans, but I think we're safe. Thought that way too often though, in order to really be sure. And yeah. Anyways, guys, this was the gameplay part of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. And really, if you have the time at hand, if you have maybe a custom world, then I would say for sure try this out. If not, try to see how much resources you would need in order to craft you 100 or so tomahawks. Maybe even throwing knives if you have a ton of steel but not wood. And just give it a go, try it out a little bit. I'm pretty sure I have missed something. This was just something. I didn't do extensive research, I was just fooling around a little bit here. And if you will find any perks or so that do benefit throwable weapons, make sure to let me know in the comments. But now we're going to take a look at our mutations and everything. So let's get right into it, starting off with the mutations. As you can see there, we are still under the effect of all of the serums, just because, yeah, as I said, I'm on a custom world. This is actually a my main character, which is basically a rifleman or gunslinger, whatever, so no melee build. I just had to rework my mutations. And yeah, we do have Adrenal Reaction, Bird Bones, Grounded, Marsupial, Scaly Skins, Speed Demon, and Twisted Muscles. Adrenal Reaction, it does affect the weapon, therefore I wanted to have it, just because, yeah, every little bit of damage helps. And yeah, as always, it's not necessary if you are someone who just always tries to be at full health, stim packing up. Obviously you won't find use for Adrenal Reaction, and the downside would be less health points, so maybe not use it. but I found it useful here. Then we do have bird bones, so we can sneak better. As I said, the debuff to our strength doesn't affect our damage with the Tomahawks. It just affects the hatchet, but still shouldn't be too much of a trouble. Then we do have grounded, 100 extra energy resistance. We are relatively flimsy, so having a bit more resistances going on is a nice thing, and we're not using any kind of energy damage. Now there is a electrofusion modification for the hatchet, which gives you extra 20 energy damage, and I had this equipped for quite a while. Definitely makes the weapon a bit more viable, but it kind of ruined the visuals for me, and since I was really trying to focus on the Tomahawks in this video, I decided not to use it. If you do though, I'm pretty sure grounded doesn't affect the 20 extra damage from the electrofusion modification, so that's something. Then we do have Marsupial and Speed Demon as always. More jump height is just pure beneficial. Extra carry weight. Now the debuff would be 1 to intelligence with rank 3 of Class Freak. And Speed Demon, yeah, faster movement speed. Well, in general, that's just good, especially since we're sneaking around a lot. And yeah, having just, I mean, plus 20 to movement speed sounds very abstract and it doesn't do a lot, but it actually feels very noticeable. And then we do have Scaly Skins, same argumentation as when it comes to the grounded mutation. More resistances are just nice in order to keep us alive here. And yeah, the downside is minus 50 to our AP. We actually don't really use our action points at all, only for power attacks occasionally on the hatchet. So yeah, it's not a considerable debuff at all, and with Class Freak at rank 3 it would just be 12 action points less. And lastly, we do have Twisted Muscles. This one I had big hope in that it would actually benefit the Tomahawks, but sadly it doesn't. At least doesn't look like it. Maybe the chance to cripple carries over. I doubt it though, because firstly I would think if that's the case, then the damage increase would also work, and even if, yeah, crippling enemies is not a concern for this build. You're really trying to take them down as fast as possible, so yeah, that's it. Taking a look at our special stats, we do have 20 in strength, 10 perception, endurance at 8, charisma at 3, intelligence at 1. We're a pretty dumb character. Then we do have 23 agility and 12 luck, so yeah. Let's take a look at our equipment here. Here you can see this is an anti-armor swing speed hatchet with extra strength. Quite a nice weapon. I always like the hatchet. It's definitely one of the weaker melee weapons. I just like it for some reason. Anti-armor, faster swing speed, strength, probably one of the best combinations you can get here. As I said, extra strength sadly doesn't affect our Tomahawks. The anti-armor effect does, and that's what counts. And as I said, yeah, swing speed beneficial, just so if you're unwillingly do a swing, it's over faster, and if you happen to rely on your hatchet at all, I think swing speed is the better option. I was using one with better power attack damage earlier, and that was quite nice, especially for a sneak build, but the problem is, yeah, the way I played today was I was using the hatchet when I was getting into problems or feeling like I might get caught pretty soon, and in that situation I found swing speed to be a more reliable option, especially if I'm getting out of stealth and have to hack my way through multiple enemies. But yeah, power attack damage would certainly work relatively nice as well, especially if you want to make use out of sneak attacks, because if you do that, you usually do have the time to make a power attack. The other one I was briefly using here, anti-armor, 25 damage while standing still and braking slower. I had the feeling that the 25% extra damage while aiming were affecting the Tomahawks, but I ultimately couldn't really tell, and I didn't want to do such extensive testing. And here we have it, 146 damage, the Tomahawk. 100 damage is base, and this 146 is with everything we have going on. So we, at the moment, do have a little bit of adrenaline. Then we do have, as I said, bloody mass, and yeah, this is just all the combinations. And yeah, I quite like it. What should I say? We do have 269 left. I started the video with, let me lie, I think it was 420. Funnily enough, something like that. 416. So we burned through like 150, maybe, around that point at least. So it's actually not too hard. And keep in mind, I have not bothered taking up thrown tomahawks at all. So we could have probably reduced the amount we are using up during the video by a good 50 or so, maybe even more. So that's something to take into consideration. And lastly, we're going to take a look at our armor here. We have a full set of 3-star covered scout armor, unmodified. The interesting part here was weapon weight reduction. For the first time ever, I'm going to look what else I do have here actually. We do have cryo resistance, we do have the aristocrats effect, so both of them not really useful for us. Then we have bolstering and hunger growing slower, so okay-ish. Cloaking, less explosion damage, and yeah, our weapon weight reduction. I mean, cloaking is kind of garbage at the point where you're getting hacked with a melee weapon. Getting into a stealth field is just not beneficial at all. Maybe helps you get away a little bit, but yeah, there's just better options. Then we do have a nocturnal piece, which is a nocturnal piece. Not a lot to say here. At the moment, we should see an effect of it. And lastly, we do have overeaters with extra agility, so probably the best piece of the bunch here, just because it gives us a little bit of more extra agility, so we can sneak a little better. But overeaters, yeah, we were not utilizing whatsoever. And in terms of apparel, could be quite interesting on this occasion. I do have the Raider Pillager backpack, with the chemist modification, by the way. Then we do have King Grognack's headband, the Raider Pathfinder outfit, a skull mask, and we do have a shielded marine wetsuit. I didn't really bother to use something else here. This is still from the time where I thought strength could be beneficial. So overall, yeah, nowadays I would probably go with something like Raider Under Armor that gives me extra agility for better sneak. But yeah, that wouldn't make too much of a difference here anyway, so I think you can live with me using that here. And lastly, we do have the skull mask. And yeah, overall I really like the visuals of this character for a kind of a tribal character. Would also work well with a bow in my opinion, or basically any kind of melee type weaponry that has this little tribalistic nature to it. Think about the sheep squatch weapons or so. Yeah, overall pretty cool aesthetic, I think. And that leaves us with just the perks here. And as I told you already, we do have 15 strength. Expert, Master, and Gladiator, averaging out on 2 each, so there would be improvement for your hatchet here, 15% more damage to be more precise. If you were to max out all of these perks, you could just leave out Blocker, since we're a stealth build. Yeah, depending on how reliably you can stay hidden, Blocker might as well not be too effective for you, and you could have more effect out of yeah, maxing out your Gladiator perks. But the more important stuff here is Incisor and Martial Artist. Now, Martial Artist only affects our hatchet itself, but obviously sinks in very well with the swing speed. And yeah, sadly the weapon weight reduction here is completely lost for us, because we already have a full set, meaning of weapon weight reduction armor, meaning this will not be effective at all. And yeah, it doesn't affect the Tomahawks. Only the legendary effect on armor does. Incisor, however, interestingly enough, seems to benefit our Tomahawks. This is one of the only melee-related perks I found useful. Now, I didn't test it too long, but I am pretty sure, like 90%, that it does help. So I wouldn't want to run without it. Obviously, not even important on this case, because even if it wouldn't affect the Tomahawks, we would still want to have it just to do more damage with our hatchet. But yeah, still, that's something to take into consideration. I'm pretty sure Incisor does give your Tomahawks armor penetration, which is very important and beneficial. Then we do have Perception at 9, which was just because I could, to be honest. The only thing I would really recommend you here is Fire in the Hole, and to be honest, rank 1 would be enough. I do have Exterminator and Glow Sight thrown in here, which is something I, if I can, like to do on weaker builds. Just so, yeah, in certain situations, talk about glowing ghouls, which definitely come up every now and then, or certain events. It's quite beneficial where a lot of glowing enemies are. Exterminators, useless in a lot of situations, especially since we do have quite a good armor penetration from Incisor. But this makes it so if you're fighting Mirelurks, which should be affected by Exterminator, as far as I'm aware, at least they are by the Exterminator's legendary effect. Yeah, Mirelurk Kings, Mirelurk Queens, that's when you see a little bit of an improvement here, and we had the points, so we might as well throw it in there. Red Scorpions obviously also can be quite tough, especially since you're probably gonna lose your stealth abilities when you're fighting Scorpions, so yeah. And lastly, I do have Green Thumb here. I thought it was kind of fitting for a tribal character, but the main reason here is, yeah, if you want to max out Fire in the Hole, which I thought wasn't really necessary here, so would have just had to play for another 1 or 2 hours before I can record the video, just to have a difference you would probably not see. So yeah, ultimately I would max out Fire in the Hole, even though it's probably not necessary here. I think it straightens the curve of your throwable a little bit, but don't quote me on that, to be honest. Yeah, 1 rank would definitely be enough. I played for the longest time with rank 1 of Fire in the Hole and was doing just fine. Then we do have Endurance at 6, Fireproof and Adamantium Skeleton, very bare bones combination here. Fireproof, obviously, always a good decision, and Adamantium Skeleton, yeah. I don't want stray bullets when we are hidden to break my leg, so I break my stealth. Just because, yeah, if you're breaking your leg, you're standing up for a short time and enemies can detect you and so on. So yeah, having Adamantium Skeleton here was not the worst decision, and especially if you're getting detected already, yeah, you want to be able to run around without having to use a Stimpak or so. Then we do have Tenderizer here, syncs in very well with our excuse me, with our follow through perk. So our second hatch definitely does a ton more damage than the first one, and as always it's a good perk, so there's never a good reason not to use it, to be honest. Then we have Intelligence at just 1, and as I already told you, we do have Scrapper here, so I didn't really bother to it because I think it's not fun to look at, but if you were to pick up every single weapon of those super mutants in the courtyard there, where we just were, not courtyard, the yard, the front entrance yard. Anyways, yeah, if you were to pick all of their weapons up, that would probably allude to, just from remembering here, something like 25 to 30 pounds of weight, which you easily have. You are a melee character with high strength, so yeah, Scrapper is really beneficial here. Now, one thing to take into consideration is that you're not going to get crazy much out of your weapons when you scrap them, just because you have low intelligence. But we're talking about a difference of, like, yeah, if you're talking about assault rifles, scrapping down an assault rifle with this perk on, with this build, you get something like 12 steel or so, and if you have a very intelligent character or unyielding character, you can extend it to like 20 or so, but just the sheer amount of weapons you can easily carry with this build makes it so it still is very beneficial, and you can get steel very easily. Obviously, you don't need to have Scrapper all of the time. Same with Woodchucker. I just thought that on this occasion, yeah, since firstly they are just 1 perk point, I didn't really see any good reason not to have them included. And on other characters I would never do this, but if I'm making a character that really is extremely heavy on ammo, for example, or on this occasion on crafting uh, hatchets, I don't want to always swap these things in and out. I mean, on my main character or so, I'm probably crafting ammo like once a month or every 2 weeks maybe, so it's not a problem to switch perks in. But if I find myself using them regularly, I don't feel like it's a lost cause to just have them included in my build all of the time. Um, that lets us move on to agility, where we do have ninja, covered operative, sneak, escape artist, and adrenaline. So ninja and covered operative, I already talked about it. Covered operative, boosting our sneak attack damage with hatchets, with tomahawks, sorry. Ninja does boost our sneak attack damage with the hatchet. And sneak obviously lets us sneak better, especially since we're not having any sneak gear other than the set effect or the effect from the covered scout armor. I think it's just shadowed, but does work all of the time, not only in dark areas. Not quite sure on that though. Then we do have escape artist. Pretty straightforward, always a good decision, especially since we're having no modifications on our armor. The inbuilt little muffle effect on the escape artist perk that you can see if you read the description is nice to have here. And lastly, we do have adrenaline. I already talked about it. On this occasion, it's very important in my opinion. But yeah. One notable mention, something I have tried, just out of curiosity. I mean, I'm not a big fan of the perk Mr. Sandman, just because it's, yeah, it just works half of the time, if even. Yeah, I thought maybe this could boost the damage of our tomahawks even further, but as far as I found out, it does not work. So yeah, don't bother trying that. I mean, do just to make sure, but yeah, I wouldn't waste perk points on it expecting it to work. I'm not even sure why I thought it could work, but you know, it's Bethesda. You have to try things out. You just can't take things for granted. And that leaves us with luck. For a character that's not using VETs at all, 12 luck is relatively high. Firstly, we do have Bloody Mess here. Already talked about it. Quite useful on this occasion, even though oftentimes it isn't. Then we do have Class Freak. Pretty straightforward. I mean, we weren't really seeing it during the video here, but we do have a little bit of a strength debuff, which hurts our melee damage, and we do have a little bit of a of other debuffs going on to our HP and so on. So yeah, Class Freak, not a bad decision on this occasion. Then we do have Star Sheens for obvious reasons. We want to keep our mutations and not get any new ones. Then we do have Woodchucker, already talked about it, and in a similar fashion to Woodchucker and Scrapper, I also had Super Duper in here. Now, it obviously didn't really matter since I am on a custom world, but I really envisioned this build to be played on a live server, and I actually did so for quite a while. It was just a pretty different, on a different character, and I was missing quite a few things. Mainly, I was missing covered operative, which means I would have to level up 3 more times, and I didn't really have the covered scout armor on that character, so I decided to recreate the character on custom worlds. But anyways, Super Duper, basically only perk that affects how many tomahawks you can craft, and therefore, yeah, I wanted to have it on. It's similar to Scrapper and Woodchucker. Obviously, you don't need to, just throw it out, put something else here, maybe Ricochet to make it a bit more tanky. I'm sure you find something. I just found that, yeah, whenever I found a a weapons workbench, I always immediately just crafted a bunch of tomahawks, and therefore, yeah, I didn't really want to swap in the perk all of the time. And that's it. And that leaves us just with legendary perks, and then finally we're done here. We do have a legendary agility, luck, perception, and strength. Obviously, maxing out strength and agility just to give us more strength and agility, meaning better stealth and more melee damage, is a priority here, but the most important thing I would say is follow through. 40% more multiplicative damage for 10 seconds after a successful sneak attack from a ranged weapon, which our Tomahawks are. Very beneficial here and pretty much the core of the build, to be honest. And lastly, yeah, we do have Word Red just for the convenience of it. If you want, you can find something else. Now, one thing I was interested in is actually can show it off since it doesn't really matter anyways. I maxed out detonation contagion because I thought maybe, I mean, it does say enemies killed with thrown explosive have a 50% chance to explode, but I thought 50-50 chance would be one of the best explosive perks if it would work with the hatchet. Sorry, the tomahawks or throwing knives. This could have been a game changer, to be honest, and I was really hoping it would, but yeah, it doesn't seem like it. I made a whole run of the White Springs Golf Club area, also the surrounding area, with this perk active, and I didn't get one single enemy to explode, so sadly that wasn't the case here. This would have been a game changer, honestly. 50-50% chance would have been great. But anyways, guys, this was it. I hope you enjoyed it. Yeah, I really had a ton of fun with this build, and I can only advise you to give it a try. Yeah, I was really surprised by how effective it was actually, and yeah. If you find out something interesting about throwing weapons, if you want to take a look at them, let me know, and otherwise, see you next time, guys. Bye.